Do you have a favorite marker brand or paint that you consistently use?
For many years, I'd make my own markers, and I still feel like making your own formula of ink and making your own, there's so many ways to make your own marker, is probably going to give you the best effect. I've used a lot of store-bought stuff. It's store-bought stuff. It's not designed for graffiti. Even the graffiti brands, I find like a lot of the inks just fade away real quick, and they have inconsistent tips that rip off. I'd rather just make my own pens a lot of times. As far as spray paint, I really like the German Montana. I wish they would sponsor me. Also Belton, either one, holler at me.
Have you ever stolen paint? And how would you steal it?
I think most of the paint I've ever used was acquired illegally one way or another. I used to jokingly say that Home Depot was my sponsor for many, many years. And I feel like any graffiti writer that has an extensive bombing career is an expert at stealing one way or another. I don't really want to give up too many tricks of the trade because I know there's a lot of graffiti writers still out there taking stuff, but there's always gaps at hardware stores and people that aren't paying attention, whether it's back doors or having friends that's a cashier or whatever the trick is. I'd say having a hustle at a hardware store one way or another is definitely the key to having a successful graffiti life. I know there's some kids that choose to like sell drugs and just pay for all the paint, but I think most of the hardcore bombers, even if they sell drugs, they just steal the paint too.
With such a long career in graffiti, who are some of the other writers not in your crew that you've been excited to meet?
Oh, that's a great question. Let me think. So I've traveled a lot and I've gotten to meet really amazing writers in the towns I've gotten to. Like in Rio de Janeiro, I got to meet Acme, and I didn't realize what, like he was a bomber. He's from the favelas, he's a street guy, but he like built his own park in his community. He like hand sculpted the whole park, and he does these giant murals that are like insanely big, and out there they don't have a lot of resources, and the fact that he's able to create so much dynamic work with out of nothing is really admirable. Other than him, like Jabber, Clown, who else? As far as West Coast guys, Saber was always a big influence on me, and when I met him finally at some point many, many years ago, he was always, you know, unfortunately, he comes from the generation, and I come from the generation where older guys are kind of dicks, and they're not nice to you, and I think around his generation is when that kind of started breaking, and so when I met him, he was really respectful and really cool. And God, I think like a lot of the, like I got excited like the first time I met Chaka, you know, I think he was like a legend. To me, it was like unreal, like, oh my God, like you're an actual person, you know? And I think it's really cool that he's having a comeback. I love seeing him up. It's just, it's like this weird nostalgia thing that happens. So I don't know, I'd like to think of a lot of other names, but it's kind of escaping me right now. But I'm really grateful for all the many writers I've met in so many other cities. Like a lot of people have hosted me and shown me a lot of love, and I really appreciate that the graffiti community has that kind of brotherhood where people are like, hey, this homie's coming through, take care of him, and people are definitely taking care of me. So thank you.
You keep your identity hidden, but when people do find out you're Fish from KOG, do they start to treat you different? Do you notice a change?
You know, I really like when people don't know. With all due respect, I love meeting fans, and I love people that care, but sometimes it's so much effort interacting with people that care that it's kind of like better when they don't know. Other than that, I really like it when I get to meet people. Like I've hung out with other graffiti writers, and I didn't know they were a graffiti writer, and they didn't know I was a graffiti writer, and then we hit it off and had a really good interaction and kind of became homies. And like at the end of the day, after kicking it, they pull out a marker and catch a tag, and it's like, oh fuck, you're that guy? Dude, I'm this guy. And then like to know people treated you cool and with respect and at a certain level before they knew who you were makes you almost think more of them, like this guy's for real. Because definitely, unfortunately, people will blow smoke up your ass, and you know, you can tell people are treating you different because they think of you as like, oh, this other thing. For me, it's always, you know, it's weird because I always do it as for me. Obviously, I do it for other people to see it, but I don't really think of people like seeing it and liking it and becoming a fan. And then later I have a fan, and then I meet people that are fans and like, yo, man, look, I got flicks of your shit from here and there and this, and I bought your print and this and that. And it's like, man, that is really so cool. Like, it makes me so grateful that all the work that I put in that sometimes feel like it was for nothing actually resonated with people, and people like felt it and gave a fuck. You know, you kind of forget. I'm disconnected kind of from my audience a lot of times, and you forget that people give a shit about what you do, and that like some people really love it. And I'm really grateful that people actually do pay attention.